My ex-wife thought she'd cash out big in our divorce until she learned the house and assets were all in my mother's name. Yeah, plot twist. Turns out the safety net she thought she was marrying into was actually my mom's. Now suddenly, she wants to reconnect like I'm a malfunctioning vending machine that just needs another coin. But I've already moved on. Hello. My name is Aaron Clark, and I'm 41 years old. If you saw me now, calmly walking into my workshop with a mug of black coffee, wiping my hands on a rag, you'd probably think, there goes a guy with a steady, predictable life, probably has a Costco membership, and gets excited about lawn fertilizer sales. And honestly, you'd be half right. But what I'm about to share, not steady, not predictable, more like a soap opera written by someone on a caffeine overdose. It's the story of how my marriage collapsed, how betrayal tried to bulldoze me, and how my ex-wife's greed exposed the truth in the most brutal way possible. I met Cecilia when I was 27. She was 24, bright, magnetic, and the kind of woman who could make a room full of people forget they were holding drinks. Meanwhile, I wasn't flashy. I was practical. I didn't stroll in with expensive suits or a sports car. Nope, I was the guy whose idea of living large was buying name-brand peanut butter instead of generic. I've been working since I was 19, building my little electrical contracting business from scratch. Sweat, calluses, and a complete lack of vacations. That was my resume. I saved like a paranoid squirrel and thought 10 steps ahead about everything. Cecilia loved that about me, or at least she gave an Oscar-worthy performance pretending to. She'd tilt her head, give me that sweet smile, and say things like, "Aaron, I feel so safe with you. You think about things I don't even realize I should worry about." And me? Like an idiot, I nod and think, wow, she appreciates me. She sees me. What she really saw, I'd later figure out, was dollar signs dancing in a future PowerPoint presentation only she was invited to. We got married after 2 years of dating. I'll admit it, I rushed. My dad had just passed away the year before, and the loneliness hit me like a freight train. Cecilia stepped in and filled that void, or at least it felt like she did. But what I didn't realize back then was that Cecilia was sharp in ways I hadn't accounted for. She didn't just fall in love with me. No, she practically audited me. She studied my habits like I was a semester-long college course. She knew I was methodical, cautious, loyal to a fault. And loyalty, when you bend it far enough, turns into weakness. I thought I was being the good guy. She thought she was playing chess. Spoiler, I was the pawn. Fast forward to our 10th year of marriage. By then, my business was thriving. I was landing solid contracts, getting respect in my field. We had a comfortable 2-story home just outside the city. Picture perfect, right? Everyone assumed the house was mine. I mean, it looked like it. My name was on the paperwork. On paper, I was the king of my castle. But reality, not so much. What nobody realized was that I had transferred the deed years earlier. Why? Because my mother, a retired accountant with the instincts of a bloodhound at an IRS convention, warned me early on. "Aaron," she said, leaning in with that all-knowing squint, "protect yourself. People change when money's involved. Don't assume love will blind-proof you." "Mom," I groaned, "Cecilia's not like that." "Oh, honey," she sighed, "they're all like that when money's involved. Even you would be like that if I let you near my pension." I rolled my eyes at the time, but I still listened. The house, the savings, even part of my business, all tied back to her legally. Not obvious, but in ways only a professional would notice. Back then, I thought it was overkill. Turns out, it was the smartest decision I ever made. "Thanks, Mom." Meanwhile, Cecilia had no idea. She thought she had me wrapped around her finger. And maybe she did, right up until the little cracks started showing. By year 12, Cecilia's whole vibe changed. Suddenly, the woman who used to greet me with, "How was your day?" now gave me a flat "yeah" when I said hello. The warmth in her voice, gone, replaced with enough frost to keep a six-pack cold. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I'm working too much. Maybe I'm not giving her enough attention. I even tried to bring it up. "Cecilia," I said one night, "you've been distant lately. Is everything okay?" She didn't even look up from her phone. "I'm fine." "You worry too much." Classic. Translation, stop asking questions while I'm texting whoever I'm really excited about. Because, as I later found out, it wasn't my late nights at the office that were the problem. It was her late nights. She started texting in the bathroom with the water running, real subtle, like I wouldn't notice Niagara Falls happening every time she went to pee. Then came the business trips with a friend I'd never heard of before. "Since when do you have a friend named Tasha?" I asked. "She's new," Cecilia said, stuffing heels into a suitcase. "Funny," I muttered, "so is this version of you." And then, out of nowhere, she started upgrading her wardrobe without explanation. The final straw came one night when I noticed her phone buzzing on the counter. Normally, I wasn't the snooping type. If someone texted her, I'd shrug and mind my own business. But this time, a name popped up I didn't recognize, Darren. No, Darren isn't exactly the kind of name you brush off. It wasn't mom, dentist, or Pizza Hut. No, Darren. Something in my gut said, pick it up, Aaron. Be nosy for once in your life. So I did. And wow, if I ever doubted my mother's suspicious accountant brain, that thread of messages confirmed everything. Cecilia wasn't just cheating, she was planning. Plotting, really. I scrolled, jaw tightening, heart pounding, reading gems like, once this divorce goes through, I'll be set for life. He won't know what hit him. Lovely. My wife, ladies and gentlemen, the romantic poet of our generation. Divorce. Set for life? I muttered out loud, staring at the screen. That's when it hit me. Cecilia wasn't in this marriage for love anymore, if she ever had been. She was circling, waiting for the kill shot, convinced she'd waltz away with half of everything like she'd won some kind of reality show jackpot. Now, I could have stormed in, slammed the phone on the table, and shouted, "Caught you." But no, that would have been too easy for her. Instead, I played dumb, smiled, pretended I was still the loyal, clueless husband she thought she'd manipulated into checkmate. Behind the scenes, whole different story. I quietly got my paperwork in order. Called up Mom, my secret weapon. We sat down one evening at her kitchen table, surrounded by stacks of files that looked like they belonged in a CIA bunker. Everything's still tied to you, right? I asked. Mom smirked. Aaron, sweetheart, if Cecilia thinks she's getting half your business, she's got another thing coming. The only thing she could technically get from you is that tacky lamp she bought last year. I chuckled. That lamp? She can have it. I've hated it since day one. My lawyer double-checked everything. Assets, titles, accounts. All neat, all airtight, all legally tied back to my mother's name, not mine. If Cecilia pulled the divorce card, she'd be walking away with little more than her clothes, her shoes, and maybe a curling iron. And then, the big day arrived. Cecilia sat me down at our kitchen table, crocodile tears ready to roll, like she'd practiced in the mirror. Aaron, she whispered, clutching a tissue, I don't think this is working anymore. I think we should separate. It'll be better for both of us. The performance was stunning. Meryl Streep would have applauded. But what I'll never forget was the coldness in her tone. It wasn't grief. It wasn't heartbreak. It was calculation, like she was ordering from a takeout menu. I nodded slowly, keeping my poker face. If that's what you want, Cecilia, I won't fight you on it. For a split second, she looked surprised, then relieved. She hugged me, whispered, You'll see. This is for the best, and walked away with a strange, triumphant smile. Sure enough, when the papers were filed, she came out swinging, demanding half the house, half the business, half the accounts. Her lawyer came in swinging, chest puffed out like he was auditioning for a courtroom drama. You could practically hear his inner monologue. Today, I bleed this contractor dry. But then came the crash. The judge reviewed the documents, flipping pages with all the enthusiasm of someone reading a tax manual. My lawyer, God bless him, laid everything out neat, clean, irrefutable. The house belonged to my mother. The business shares, safely parked in her name. The accounts, secured years before Cecilia even sashayed into my life. Legally, Cecilia had no claim. None. Zero. Nada. Her face that day. Oh, I wish I'd had a camera. First, smugness. That little smirk she wore like she'd already spent the money. Then a confusion as her lawyer started to sweat. And finally the piece de resistance, dawning horror. Slow, creeping, like someone realizing mid-buffet that the shrimp is bad. She wasn't walking away with millions. She wasn't walking away with half a house or half a business. She was walking away with, well, nothing. Unless you count 3 pairs of designer heels, 2 fake friends, and a bruised ego. And here's the part that still chills me. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She didn't even throw a dramatic fit to get escorted out by security. Disappointing, honestly. Instead, she just sat there, pale as stone, staring dead ahead. Because in that exact moment, Cecilia realized she'd been outplayed at her own game. Months passed. Divorce finalized. Life got lighter. I started dating again, cautiously, because, well, lesson learned. Without the constant fog of deception pressing down on me, even my coffee tasted better. But Cecilia wasn't finished. Oh no. A year later, my phone lit up with her name. I thought it was a prank. Her voice was soft, almost nostalgic, like she'd just walked out of a rom-com. Aaron, she breathed, I've been thinking about us. About what we had. I miss you. Maybe we should grab coffee, just to talk. I nearly choked. Coffee? After the lies, betrayal, courtroom theatrics, now she wanted to play Remember When. Cecilia, I said slowly, trying not to laugh. Is this the part where you bat your eyelashes and I magically forget you try to gut me like a fish? Silence on her end. Then, in her best damsel in distress tone, you've changed. Exactly, I said. That's the point. See, what she didn't realize was she wasn't dialing the same gullible guy anymore. She thought maybe, just maybe, she could charm her way back in, find another angle, another weakness to exploit. But she'd burned that bridge to ash the day she plotted to cash me out. So I told her calmly, Cecilia, the man you thought you could fool doesn't exist anymore. I wish you well, but don't ever call me again. Then I hung up. That was the last time I heard her voice. And if you ask me what the lesson is, it's this: betrayal doesn't always come with screaming matches and slammed doors. Sometimes it comes with a smile, a soft hand on your shoulder, and plans whispered to someone else in the dark. But when the truth comes crashing down, it's not the betrayed who loses everything. It's the betrayer who ends up empty-handed. 4 weeks after that call, I thought it was over. Door shut, chapter closed, Cecilia gone. But people like her, they don't exit gracefully. They linger, hover, circle like vultures that spotted you, twitch after falling off a cliff. Sure enough, a few days later, she showed up at my workshop. No call, no warning, just standing in the doorway like she still had some kind of season pass to my life. And she'd gone for the kill shot, that same perfume she used to wear when we first met. The one that, back then, could make me weak in the knees. Now it just made me want to open a window. Erin, she said softly, almost breathless, like she just jogged across the parking lot of bad decisions. I just wanted to see you to see if you're okay. I put down my tools and leveled a look at her. Let's be real, she wasn't here to check on me. Her eyes gave her away, darting around the shop, scanning the equipment, the shelves, the neatly stacked invoices on my desk. She wasn't seeing me. She was mentally appraising the resale value of my socket set. I'm fine, Cecilia, I said, steady as a rock. You shouldn't be here. But of course, she stepped closer, lowering her voice into that faux tender register she thought could hypnotize me. Can we not be like this? She pleaded. We spent over a decade together. You can't just erase that. Don't you miss me even a little? Ah yes, her secret weapon. Nostalgia. Forget the betrayal, forget the scheming, forget trying to bleed me like a pig at the county fair. No, she wanted to drag out the scrapbook. She painted it up real nice, too. Remember our honeymoon? The little Italian restaurant we used to go to every Friday? The night we stayed up until dawn, laughing over nothing. For a flicker of a second, I'll admit it stirred something. Not love, not longing, just memory. Like finding an old receipt in your jacket and remembering you once paid too much for gas. And Cecilia, sharp as ever, caught it flicker across my face. She slid closer, laid a hand on my arm, and whispered, See? You remember, too. We don't have to throw everything away. We could try again, she murmured. We could build something new. Ah yes, the royal we. That magical little pronoun manipulators love to weaponize. People like Cecilia don't talk about you. They talk about we. Blur the lines, smudge the edges, so you forget where you end and they begin. I pulled my arm back gently and asked, Cecilia, what exactly do you want from me? That's when the mask slipped. It wasn't obvious. Most people wouldn't have caught it. But I did. The softness drained right out of her voice, replaced with something sharp, polished, calculated. I just think, she began smoothly, that maybe we both rushed into things. Maybe we let lawyers and paperwork ruin what we built. I raised an eyebrow. Lawyers and paperwork. Cecilia, that wasn't paperwork. That was you trying to gut me like a salmon. She pressed on, ignoring the jab. You know me, Erin. I'm not a bad person. I made mistakes, but don't we all deserve a second chance? And then, the dagger. Besides, I'm struggling, she said, layering her voice with just the right amount of tremble. I don't have the kind of stability I used to. The apartment I'm in, it's falling apart. The landlord doesn't fix anything. I barely sleep at night. It's hard being alone. I thought maybe you could help me. At least until I get back on my feet. There it was. The truth under all the sugar. This wasn't about love. It wasn't nostalgia. It was survival. And she thought I was still her safety net. Spoiler, wrong net. So I let her talk. Oh, did I let her talk? She spun the sob story like she was auditioning for a daytime talk show. Life was hard. Everything was expensive. No one understood her like I did. She even slipped into subtle jabs, buttering me up with backhanded compliments. You've always been the responsible one, Erin. You always knew how to take care of things. I miss feeling safe with you. There it was again, safe. The same word she'd used when she first reeled me in. back when I was too blinded to notice the hooks hidden behind it. I stared at her, really stared, and for the first time, I didn't see the woman I once loved. I saw every manipulation, every betrayal, every calculated move stacked neatly in front of me like an evidence board. I saw how she tilted her head when she wanted sympathy, how she let her voice tremble just enough to sound fragile, but not broken. I caught the way she glanced at my desk, like she was already mentally cataloging the tools, invoices, and maybe even my stapler, figuring out what she could grab if I was dumb enough to let her back in. So I finally said, Cecilia, you had stability. You had a home, security, a future. You threw it all away when you decided your greed was worth more than your marriage. That was your choice. And now you want me to pay for the fallout. Her eyes flashed. Quick, sharp anger, like a match strike. But she smothered it fast, pasting on that trembling little smile she thought could sell me anything. No, you're misunderstanding me, she said sweetly. I miss us. I thought maybe we could start with coffee, maybe dinner. Nothing serious. Just see where things go, right? Because nothing says fresh start like the woman who tried to rob you blind suggesting a latte. That's when it hit me. Cecilia wasn't here for reconciliation. She was here for infiltration. This wasn't about love or nostalgia. It was about trying to wedge herself back into my life, even an inch. She thought if she could just slip past the walls I'd built, she could start dismantling them brick by brick. Maybe she thought she could outlast me. What she didn't know was that every attempt she made only made me stronger. I looked her dead in the eye and said, Cecilia, let's stop pretending. You don't miss me. You miss the life you thought you'd cash out on. You thought you'd walk away rich. When that didn't happen, you realized you had no plan B. And now you're here hoping I'm stupid enough to let you back in. But I'm not that man anymore. And for the first time, she couldn't fake it. The mask cracked. Her lips tightened, her eyes narrowed, and her voice dropped into something cold enough to give frostbite. You'll regret this, she whispered. You think you're untouchable, but no one is. Not forever. Then she turned and walked out, leaving the smell of that damn perfume behind. I stood there in the silence of my shop, heart pounding, not out of fear, but out of clarity. Because in that moment, I understood something I hadn't before. Cecilia didn't just want money. She wanted control. And when she lost it, she wasn't just angry. She was dangerous. And the story didn't end there. Because people like Cecilia, they always come back with one last trick. It's like they've got a loyalty card at the Terrible Decisions Cafe. Buy 9 manipulations, get the 10th free. After she stormed out my workshop, I figured, okay, curtains down, show's over. But Cecilia doesn't do finales. She does sequels nobody asked for. A few weeks later, rumors started floating around. Subtle at first, like smoke creeping under a door. Clients started pulling me aside. Hey, Aaron, everything good? I heard you might be going bankrupt. Or are you hiding debts, man? Just want to know if I should pay cash up front. Yeah, real confidence builders. And I knew exactly where it came from. Cecilia. She couldn't touch my assets in court, so now she tried to torch my reputation. The one thing I'd built with my own hands. And honestly, credit where credit's due, she had persistence. Evil persistence, sure, but persistence. I stayed calm, kept records, emails, contracts, proof of every lie. When she tried to spread stories online, my lawyer sent her cease and desist letters so sharp they practically paper-cut her soul. When she called clients directly, I didn't duck. I confronted it head-on. Hi, yes, it's me. No, I'm not bankrupt. And no, I don't secretly run a gambling ring out of my workshop. Though if I did, I'd at least offer better odds than Vegas. The more I countered, the more desperate she got. And desperation makes people sloppy. Cecilia went from crafty manipulator to cartoon villain real fast. Her grand finale? She forged an email pretending to be me. An email where I allegedly admitted to fraud. Fraud. As if I just roll out of bed one morning and think, what would look good on me? Federal charges. She thought it would ruin me. Instead, forensics traced it straight back to her. Like leaving muddy footprints on white carpet. That was the last nail. My lawyer pressed charges for defamation and fraud. Cecilia didn't just lose her chance at my life, she gained a criminal record. The last time I saw her was in court again. But this time, she wasn't smirking. She was small, cornered, and furious at the world for not bending to her will. And me? I walked out free. My business intact, my name cleared. That's the thing about betrayal, it always circles back. She thought she could cash out on my life. In the end, she cashed out on her own. Dear listeners, if you enjoyed this story, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss future updates.